Hi everyone, Lukas from lgmphotography.co.uk, and in this video I'm going to give you my opinion on which one should you be picking, the Nikon 28mm f1.8G or the Sigma 35mm f1.4. Right, so for a very long time, as a Nikon user, you were quite limited if you were looking for wide-angle fast lens, and pretty much the only choice you had if you were looking for good quality was the 24mm Nikon f1.4 and the 35mm f1.4. Now those two lenses, if you know about them, they are extremely good, but they are extremely expensive as well, and you're probably looking at 1,300 to 1,400 pounds for each lens. So it's out of reach for lots of people, especially in the amateur world. And even in a semi-professional, professional, it's a lot of money to invest in a lens, which is excellent, but it's quite a specific lens. So a lot of people were a bit, it's just a bit too much. So then Nikon decided to release the 28mm f1.8G, and that at the price which was about £500, which is amazing, which is really is nearly a third of the price, right between the focal length for the 24 and 35, and just two-thirds of a light slower. So, you know, still a very fast lens, really, really good optics. So obviously lots of people jumped onto it, and you know, don't get me wrong, it's an excellent lens. But every time a lens come out, I always try to wait at least about 6 months just to see reviews, see performances, see how it performs on the DxO website compared to other lenses, so I can make up my mind. And looking at all the reviews, it's just been excellent. It's an amazing lens, no doubt about this. But then Sigma came out with the new range of lenses. Now Sigma has been under new management for some time now, and they have, I believe, been working on the optics, on the lens aesthetic, ergonomic, and they are coming out with lenses which are breathtaking. I mean, absolutely astonishing lenses. And that 35mm f1.4 that they released was first, when it came out, everyone was really excited about it, because the all new design looked really, really modern. It's beautiful lens, superbly made, looked like a 2013 lens or 2012 when it came out. And lots of people started to ask the question, well, which one should we buy? And that is the question I've asked myself for a long time. I've been looking for a wide angle fast lens, and when the 28 came out, I thought, well, I'm gonna get this one. I'm just gonna wait a bit and then I'll get it. But then the 35 came out, and looking at both of these two lenses, it's a hard question, which one should you get? Because they both are very good lenses. So let's look at the differences. So obviously focal length, 28 and 35, there is a bit of a difference, but it's quite a major difference if you look at it, and if you start using both focal length. So obviously this will need to fit your type of shooting. And the way I did it before I made my mind on which one to buy between the two is I took my 24 to 70 and I set it up at 28 and started to shooting people, shooting outdoor, best street photography, at a wedding, just make sure it's on 28, and then see how I get on with this focal length. Then I put on to 35. Now the 35, if you've seen my review about the 35 f1.8 Nikon, which is a cheap one, DX, but that also works with FX. When I used it on my FX, I loved that lens. I loved the effect that the 35mm does for portrait. It gives you a bit of a it just gives you a very, very nice portrait lens, where you can get quite a lot of it on a picture, and when you get quite close to your subject, you get this kind of distortion, which makes it great. I really personally really like portraits made with the 35mm. And so because I got rid of my 35 when I got rid of my DX cameras, I decided to, so I put my 24-70 on 35 and started to shoot. And to me the 35 was just better. I prefer to shoot with a 35 than 28. It kind of fits my line of shooting more than the 28mm focal length. So that was kind of, so the Sigma had the best advantage for myself personally. Now, in question of aperture, obviously 1.8 versus 1.4, well, it's quite easy to pick which one you want. 1.4 obviously is faster. It'll give you a smoother background, especially with a 35mm being a bit more tight. You'll get a better bokeh at the back, a better background, smoother, and a better separation between your subject and the background. So that, again, another point for the Sigma. Construction-wise, the Nikon has had quite bad review in regard to the ergonomics and the way it's been built. It's been cheaply built, and I think if you look at the 50mm f1.4, which also have, it's pretty much built the same. It's not really expensive plastic. It's a bit, it just doesn't feel very, very solid, like if you pick up a 70-200 or even the 24 or the 35. But again, they are 3 times the prices. So obviously Nikon's been saving a bit of money on the construction of this lens. But this doesn't mean that the optically is bad, no at all. So looking at the Sigma is one of the best built lens I've ever seen. It's really something outside of what I've seen before, and I think you could really much compare it to, brand like Leica or Zeiss, which are really top-end lenses. So again, this is one plus for the Sigma. And obviously optical quality. Now, I'm not a scientist and I hate looking at numbers and figures. I test lenses on the field, and as a photographer, what result you actually get. And obviously not having these lenses, and for you who are also looking, it's very hard obviously to get your hand on both lenses, use them and compare them. And I think I've not seen any reviews where there is a proper comparison between these two lenses. Mostly it's forums talking about it, and everyone has, some people said 20 is better, some people said 35 is better. So it's really hard. But if you look at DxO Marks, who has tested both lenses, now the 28 is excellent, really good, very sharp, beautiful tone. But the 35 Sigma is something else. I think Sigma has come out with what they call the art collection, which is something that is quite astonishing and better than we've ever seen with Sigma. Sigma has good lenses, has bad lenses, and I think a lot of people have mixed opinion about this. But if Sigma carry on the way they're carrying on with the new lenses they release, like the zoom lens constant 1.8, I mean, that is just okay, so for DX cameras, but where does that come from? Why is Nikon or Canon, who's been established and who have probably much more money to spend on development of new lenses, haven't come up with something like this? So I think we have a lot to see with Sigma coming up, and I'll be very excited to see what they're going to come out with next. So coming back to the 35 and 28, optically, DxO Mark said that the 35 f1.4 Sigma is better, sharper than the Nikon equivalent, which is 1200, the Canon equivalent, which is about the same price, over 1300 pounds, which is over $2,000, I believe. So which one should you get, 28 or 35? And I think the real thing you should be looking at it is try, if you have a 24-70, do like I did, put it onto 28 and start shooting. Shoot a few different things, I don't know, in the street, your kids, your wife, girlfriend, your friends. If you do a job, try to keep it on that and see what you think, and then put on to then 35 and see which one you get. So thinking about all this, I think you pretty much guess which one I was going to get, I was going to go for. And yes, I did go for the Sigma 35mm f1.4, and it arrived a couple of hours ago, so I've had very little play with it, but to me this was the best choice. So I'm not saying that this is the best lens. Well, I am saying yes, this is definitely the best lens. It is better than the top-end Nikon and Canon, so yes, it is the best lens. But I think what's more important if you're looking to purchase one of these two lenses is to focus on what focal length is better for you, because you don't want to end up with the 35 and you think, oh, actually it's a bit too tight, or the 28 and think it's a bit too wide. So I think the best thing to do is kind of focus on, take one of your lenses. You must have an 18-70 or 24-70, or a lens which cover both focal length. If you don't, borrow one. But I would say focus first on, the focal lens you prefer. They're both astonishing lenses. I think despite the focal length, which I think was better for me, if the Sigma would have been a 28, I think I would have gone for the 28 Sigma. This lens is something else. It really is something else, which I've never seen in other lenses, apart from, as I say, if you look at Zeiss lenses or Carl Zeiss or Leica, something really high-end. I'm really looking forward to see what Sigma is coming up with. But anyway, so my option was the 35. Would I recommend it? Yeah, absolutely. I've taken a few pictures at home in the last few hours. It looks very good at the back of the camera. I've not even looked at the pictures on the big screen. But what I would say, yeah, if you're looking for one of these two lenses, my recommendation will be check the focal length, test it, and see which one is best for you. I have a couple of weddings coming soon, so what I will do is test it as much as I can and bring you a full review on my thought in this lens. Ergonomic first, I've never had a lens which is so well built, and I'm talking no one. I've got a 70-200 VR2, I've got 24-70, and this looks better, feels better, and to me it's better built than these two lenses. It's brilliant. Anyway, so I'll do a good review and bring it up to you. But if you have any questions, let me down below. And yeah, don't forget to subscribe. Cheers. See ya.